delighted to have, we're delighted to have you joining us. I'm Valérie Denambel. I'm Project Marketing Manager for the Cegos Group, and I'll be introducing the event. It's great to have you here with us for this hour. And you are from 25 different countries, so we are truly proud to be holding such an international event. Before you start, I'm going to let you know a little about the technical side of it. We have automatic subtitles that have been implemented. So if you go to the caption part of your on your toolbar, you can choose translation and then choose the language in which you would like the webinar to be translated for you. It's a live event, so there might be a small delay in the translation, but it works perfectly. We tested it. The webinar will be recorded, and you will receive the replay shortly afterwards. If you have any question, please ask them in the Q&A section. We've set some time apart at the end of each section, of each part, to be able to answer to your questions. And we've also saved some time at the end of the webinar to answer your questions. So the subject we will be looking at today is designing learning experiences that create a real impact. Alban, Elise, Nathalie, and Carolina will bring you valuable insights and example of the initiatives they launched to engage learners and create an impact. But before leaving the floor to our speakers, I would like to tell you a little about the Cegos Group. I'll give you two figures, 50 and 4,500. 50 is the number of countries in which Cegos operates, either through its subsidiaries or through a network of international companies well established and recognized locally. 4,500 is the number of training experts in their own field that we rely on, and they are spread out throughout the world, and they can localize and adapt the training to local cultures. With regard to Cegos, Cegos can provide companies with a wide range of solutions. International training solutions is about it's having simple and effective deployment of corporate training programs worldwide with the right level of customizations. Ready-to-use training solutions, it's about creating a sustainable partnership to deliver a single training or an entire course portfolio across several countries. Outsourcing and learning services, it's a support provided by Cegos for the efficient transformation and operation of your corporate L&D ecosystems. The fields of expertise in which we operate is broad: management, leadership, soft skills, sales, project management, AI, and many more. I'm going to introduce you now to our speakers. So Alban is in charge of social engagement for the Orange Group. He focuses on the training of 6 million people by 2030 on basic or advanced digital skills. Elise designed and developed the serious game for good connections for Orange, and she supported them in its implementation. She will animate a session allowing us to experience that serious game. Nathalie manages the learning and development with Aston Martin. She launched the Ignite project for all the company's leaders, and today she will drive us through this blended development journey that transforms collaboration and leadership culture. And Carolina will take the last part of the webinar, and she focuses on topic of L&D and professional efficiency. She continuously monitors the innovation in learning experience and training animation, and to improve the Cegos training programs. So what are we going to look at today? Orange will start with Alban, and she's going to take us with Elise through the For Good Connection serious game. Then Nathalie will take us through the Ignite leadership development journey. And then Carolina will put in perspective both learning programs and also provide some information about the learning design to create an impact. And then we'll have an additional Q&A session at the end. Alban, I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Valerie. Hi, everyone. Thank you first to the Cegos team for having me here. So I'm in charge of CSR for the Orange Group. Orange Group is a telecom company operating in 25 countries. So this figure is quite important because you will see that what we invented with Cegos is a worldwide training system for most of the countries we operate. And so I will testify on this game that we built early this year with the support of Cegos and called the Serious Game for Good Connections. So next slide, please. What is for good connections? In context, you have to know that Orange has always been committed to promoting responsible digital use. And our CEO, Christelle Edman, has made child protection the core of our corporate strategy. So next slide, please. So with a view to accelerating the responsible use of digital technology, she launched the For Good Connection initiatives. What is it? So For Good Connections aims to protect young people from the misuse of digital technologies, in particular, the excessive screen time, the fight against cyberbullying, and against inappropriate content. Because we consider at Orange that kids are most vulnerable and they really need to have some support when dealing with smartphone and online usage. And we consider it's our responsibility, it's our CSR responsibility to promote digital responsible use. So next slide, please. So we turn to Cegos with a consistent request to engage kids in the For Good Connection initiatives. So we co-design with Cegos and Elise that will testify in a few minutes, an awareness workshop exclusive to Orange as part of our CSR approach that will be primarily deployed in Africa by our local team. It will cover most of the thematics of For Good Connection, so excessive screen time, cyberbullying, inappropriate content, but also topics like fake news, responsible use of internet for the planet, and data protection and privacy. So we wanted a fun, very experiential, serious game because we are talking to kids, and you can't really do classical training with kids because they need to be engaged, they need to have something that is lively, that is appealing to them with a young language, easy to understand. So that was really at the heart of what we could design with Cegos. We wanted a game that could be played autonomously with approximately one animator for 20 kids. A game that could be played in any situation, indoor, outdoor, within a classroom, within a sport club, in a sport field, with or without a pen. We wanted something that could adapt to any situation in Africa and any context. We wanted something that could be deployed at a very marginal cost, so easy to scale by printing, for instance, and an optional booklet. If kids want to bring something at home, they could have something that give them some advice afterwards. And so this workshop would last 60 minutes because you can't have really kids' attention for a longer moment. And for kids aged between 10 to 16-year-old. That was really part of what we decided to co-design with Elise. And so next slide, please. This co-design was not just about co-design between Orange and Cegos. We wanted this serious game to be co-created also with all the stakeholders. So it means that we needed to involve in the design process our colleagues in Africa. We needed to involve in the process of designing this serious game also the future animator that would be in front of the kids, and also expert of child protection, of course, to be sure that the advice we provide are really consistent with the child protection. And also we needed to involve children as part of stakeholder of these initiatives. And so we did several interviews and training workshop with children to get their feedback in the designing process. And so next slide, please. We ended up with a serious game in a format of a card game because we consider it was going to be the most appealing for the kids. That could be printed on demand remotely in any of our Orange team in Africa and played using this printed card game. But also we had the format of reward card game that we ship to countries if they wanted to have some more premium physical card game. And so I will let Elise go through some example of the card game so that you can have your hand on the content of this card game and the gaming experience. We can't hear you, Elise.
Yes. Okay, do you hear me now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alban. So let's imagine that a small group of young people are gathered and they have decided together to tackle the topic privacy protection. Let's play together and discover what they will see. On card number 1 of privacy protection, they read together this small text. There is a party in the neighborhood. A band is playing in the street. We are having so much fun. I took a picture of me and my friends dancing. And now the text at the end of this card says, turn over card number 2 to find out what happens next. And as you can see, we have card number 2. What would you do? Discuss it together and choose an answer. What we want you to do now is to go through a survey to decide which option you want to discover. So option number 1 will be, I hurry to post it on my profile page. Option number 2 is going to be, I'm sending it to a group of 20 friends. And option number 3, I'm showing the photo to my friends. We are having a good laugh. I'm putting it on a story so that it only stays on the internet for 24 hours.
So please do answer whatever option you would like to choose, and then Elise will take us through that option.
Okay, so from what we see now, the option that most of you have chosen is I'm showing the photo to my friends. We are having a good laugh. I'm putting it in on a story so that it only stays on the internet for 24 hours. So we are going to discover what is written on card number 5. On card number 5, you discover the consequences of your choice. So the consequence is the following. One of my friends took a screenshot of the photo and posted it on her own profile. Now let's discover what is written on card number 8. Card number 8 is a theoretical input. So on the card you can see posting a photo in a story doesn't mean it will disappear from the internet. Before posting something, ask yourself if you are okay with everyone having access to it. On card number 9, you will discover a challenge. And the challenge is 1, 2, 3 sun. Line up, choose one person to be the sun. The others take 10 steps forward and then turn their back to the others. While the sun says 1, 2, 3 sun, the others move forward. As soon as the sun turns around, everyone must stop and freeze. If someone moves, he or she goes back to the start. The first person to touch the sun wins the game. On the last card of this topic, about privacy protection, you have a few inputs before you get the booklet. And here are the inputs. When you stopped moving, you may have been in a funny position. If someone had taken a photo of you at that moment, you probably would not have wanted it to be published. Remember to ask for permission before sharing a photo. And now Alban is going to explain to you what are the first results we have on this game.
Yeah, thank you, Elise. So now I think it's more concrete for you about what we try to achieve with this card game. And so just to let you know that the first results are very impressive because almost 80% of the kids who play it in France said that they learn more responsible online behavior. So it's our impact measurement in CSR is how we get the message to go through. And so what we learn from the kids in the survey is that they really like the involvement, being actor and not passive with the fun games, for instance, like on card number 9, which make them active and understand, with their full body what responsible usage means. And also they like the way the card game is really personalized, like you choose your card, you made your choice. And depending on the choice they made, the game is different. And so they really like the personalized approach. And so as a next step, the card game is currently being deployed in 17 countries in Africa. And we are translating it in Romanian, Arabic, to deploy it also in new countries in the year to come. So that's I would say the return on experience. I'm sharing it here with this game specifically designed for kids with the objectives of bringing impact to our CSR strategy. No, we can't hear you, Valérie.
Thank you for both of you for this presentation. We're having a question from Brazil. Denilson would like to know what you think of this Australian initiative in banning social media for children under 16.
Yeah, well, it's an answer. Since it's not yet everywhere deployed, we do have to accompany responsible usage also of internet. In any case, the banning is not in the hand of Orange. I mean, it's a government decision, so we have to adapt whatever the context is.
Thank you. And we have a question also about Denilson. Will the game be available in Latin America soon? Really cool. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for your feedback. And we know that in Brazil, especially regarding human rights, kids protection, you guys are really, in advance. And it's not surprising that comments come from this country. Thank you for showing the way.
And then Tala also liked the game, and she asked whether it could be translated into a fun format for leaders as well. Have you tried it with executives?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, we are experiencing the game being played by parents with kids because also it's quite key for parents to understand also how to do some parental education, to do some digital parenting. Sorry for the mistake. And so we didn't try to train internal employee, but that could be useful as well because even if you are an internal Orange employee or whatever company, you might be a parent or you might be an uncle or you might be a cousin and you might want to share some advice. So thank you for that.
And then Jonathan is asking, well, he finds it very interesting and relevant. And he is asking whether you would have any hints on how this experience impact the day after. For example, are kids sharing it back and discussing it at school with their family?
Yeah, thank you for bringing this question up. So what we didn't show here is a little booklet that kids will bring back to home. It's a kind of diploma with some summary of advices, some key phone number, also hotline for kids protection, personalized by country, so that if they are going through any issue, they can still refer to it because, as you said, we want to make a long-lasting impact and not just change the behavior for 1 hour or 1 week. So, yeah, that's a key element. I'm sure we can go deeper, but at least this is the short, the quick win solution we find.
And Sophie has a question. You chose a card game, but in your opinion, what is the value of the material medium versus a digital medium in terms of pedagogy?
Yeah, well, as part of our request, we wanted something to be played offline, of course, because if we want to promote responsible use of screen, we don't want kids to go online to learn. And also we wanted something that could be playable, for instance, in the classroom, in a sport club. So we wanted something easy to deploy, whatever context. We wanted to be fun, kids to be active, to stand as Elise shown. And so if you're in front of a screen, it's the opposite that is going through.
Okay. So Tala asked a question, which is beside language, what modification did you have to make to different culture contexts? For example, in police,
yeah.
I'll let you answer.
Yeah. Maybe Elise, you might want to answer this.
Yes, why not? So we developed different card games depending on the country. So we have one for France, for example, because of course the environment is different between Africa. Even in Africa, there are a lot of countries. Some of them speak in English, some in Arabic, some in French. So we have several languages, and we also developed several card games depending on the culture and what is really interesting in this game, in this serious game, is that we wrote all the texts with the people in those countries, so it's very relevant.
Thank you, Elise. We have another question. How do you evaluate the efficiency of your serious game in the time?
Yeah, well, so we have a systematic survey that we give to animator with the animator guide so that they can distribute it to kids after the game. Knowing that if it's a 60-minute game, I mean, we don't expect to change the life of the kids for the 5 years to come, right? It has to be proportionate to what we bring to them. So for 60 minutes, at least as it is displayed in this slide, we want kids to learn more responsible behavior, which I think is already a first impact. To light something in their mind to start thinking differently about this use, knowing that some of them are 10 or 11 years old, so they can play the game even before going on social networks. So we just want them to be aware. But of course, then they have to, of course, have periodic advices, and it's not going to be the magical stick that resolve 100% of the issue.
Thank you. Thank you. And then we have a last comment, which is a long-lasting impact is what we should all look for. Congrats on that also from Louis. So
thank you.
Thank you, really. Thank you, Alban. Nathalie, I let you take over the mic.
Thank you very much. Yes, hello everyone. My name is Natalie and I'm the Learning and Development Manager here at Aston Martin. I'm here today to take you through a specific learning program that we launched in 2023, and it is for our first line leaders across all of our departments and all of our multi-sites at Aston Martin. So I'm going to take you through the design process, the partnership that we had with Cegos, and really the whole journey in terms of making learning experiences that we could demonstrate and see that had a real impact. So before I go into the finer details of what this program looks like, I want to show you a video that encompasses the heart of Aston Martin. It shows you the diverse people, the products, the team, and how important the designing of this training was to make sure that all of these teams were touched and were able to access it and also implement it. We have a very long history. We're over 100 years in the making. Everyone knows us from James Bond to F1 now and everything in between. And with this comes huge benefits, but also traditional ways of working, which we needed to review and make improvements on. So you'll see here the design craftsmanship, the engineering excellence, the corporate sustainability, the wide variety of everything that allows us to create these high performance, wonderful cars. So what I want you to do is after watching this video, please write one word into the Q&A box and tell me how this video made you feel and what impact it had on you. But one word, keep it to one word if you can. So please show the video. Now, I've seen this video hundreds of times and it still creates an impact on me. But some people are sharing today, and thank you. So yeah, excited, adrenaline, precision, craftsmanship, power, thrilled, impactful, fusion. These are really great comments. Precision is a really key thing that's come through. Momentum, the fact that people have a emotive reaction to this video. And thank you for those that commented. They are still coming in thick and fast, but there's huge themes here, and that's what people feel, that's what our employees feel about working for the brand, and that's what we needed to make sure our training replicated. So thank you for sharing. On this slide, this is really the heart of what we launched before we even decided to do any of this training. And it was really important that our training had a foundation based on our company values. So we have no one builds an Aston Martin on their own, and it's completely true. We are quite a small company considering how big our brand is. And these values are at the heart of everything that we do, and they were absolutely internal into the design of many things we've launched internally, but particularly in planning this leadership development program. We rolled this out for a year before we launched Ignite, and this was to be able to get people to understand and to live these values and feedback and really discuss these values. And it was the green thread that filled every single module that we did and allowed us to really embed this into our culture, but then into also our learning program. Next slide, please. Thank you. So why did this matter? So we needed to equip our first line managers and supervisors with the skills to connect the day-to-day whilst embedding the values and creating that high performing teams and that leadership. We needed to strengthen this at the first line level, particularly among managers and supervisors who connect strategy to day-to-day operations. These leaders not only didn't have a consistent sort of development pathway within the business, but what we wanted to is now armed with these corporate values of unity, openness, trust, ownership, and courage. We wanted to set clear expectations in terms of how we lead our teams using these tools. So it was really important to have leaders who consistently demonstrated and actively championed our values, whilst creating an environment for them to be the best that they could be. So every leader, whether they were in manufacturing or design or the corporate functions, had the opportunity to enter this development program. Thank you. Next slide. So the Ignite program covered 8 modules, and it was a blended learning approach. So across these 8 modules, there were in-person workshops, there were one-to-one coaching, there was e-learning, there were separate learning sets which were done in person and also via Zoom or Teams. And throughout all of this, it was integrated with our values training and also our performance management system. So we had to make this applicable and accessible for everybody, making sure that we weren't stopping the production line, that we weren't missing sales targets, we weren't taking people out of the business that were going to create issues internally, and also create that safe space where they could meet with their peers, discuss their peers, and take real life problems and work through them in these action learning sets. So initially, before we launched the program, we had a huge managers and directors briefing whereby every director who had somebody on this course was given the opportunity to be taken through the program, but then also go through the measurement and feedback aspect of it, which was something we called the Aston Martin Leadership GPS. Next slide, please. So the GPS system worked throughout the program and also 6 months after the program. And what it enabled us to do is to provide peers, colleagues, directors, and other members that people were working with across the business to actually give real-time feedback on how they perceived the person on the course was performing. So it had weekly notifications sent out to everybody to give this feedback. It was anonymous. It was less than a minute to complete. So we made it really, really time sensitive. And it provided a dashboard for the individual on the course. So they could see in real time their impact of them being on this course and what they were taking from essentially the classroom into the real life working environment. And I will show you on the next slide as well what that data looks like and who it was available to. Next slide, please. Thank you. And this is the sort of data that was generated from it. So HR had the dashboard, directors of the people that were on the course had the dashboard, and the individual participant also had it. And this is real-time feedback throughout the course and 6 months after the course that showed the trajectory of their learning journey. And this was used not only for obviously progress on the course, but then also through performance management discussions as well. So we launched the values first, the program, and then we reintroduced a performance management system, which enabled us to really make sure that all of this had a real impact in the day-to-day business of working at Aston Martin. So this data set was provided for all cohorts and also enabled us to make sure that through the flexibility and the flux of the business, we were able to review the data and make sure that it was still being applicable, and if any changes needed to be tweaked for further cohorts, that we were able to do so. Thank you. Next slide, please. So a leadership program we're celebrating. We are proud to announce that between Aston Martin and Cegos, we won the Silver Award in the Best Use of Blended Learning Program at the Brandon Hall Group Excellence Awards. This recognition celebrated a 9-month blended journey, and throughout of this process, it was a very long process from concept to delivery, but I think it really shows that we actually made a difference, and everything that we did leading up to launching the program and then throughout and then continuing those conversations really helped us succeed. And of course, the fantastic news was winning the Silver Award in this very well established set of excellence. So by embedding all these values and into the design and the delivery, we built a scalable and strong foundation to be able to then take that and prepare us for future years. So designing for the learner, not the content. I think as the video showed earlier, we have a huge wealth of experience and technical skills required to get these beautiful products out of the door. But in order to make this course applicable for everybody and their individual working responsibilities, we had to know the audience and design to meet them where they are. So we, throughout the program, designed specific days where they were outside of the business, so they were not distracted by the business needs and being taken away. But it also meant that we were able to create these safe spaces for them to explore and try out the different learning modules and the various skills that they could use within their cohort rather than on their team, and have that peer support network. We had to create this blended approach because otherwise we would have too much of internal impact on building our cars. So hence why the hybrid and the busy working lives needed to have flexibility in order to keep attendance, keep motivation, and keep it applicable for our learners. We obviously review this every year in terms of where the business was sitting currently. We created engagement through various different active learning. So we had models that we used mock business scenarios, we had role play, and again, we created that safe space for people to practice exactly what they were doing in real time. And throughout that was where the feedback was had. There was feedback within these sessions, peer-to-peer feedback, coaching feedback, and then obviously the GPS. And through this blended approach is where we're able to see the really positive data improvements of the GPS scores. Next slide, please. Thank you. So prioritizing feedback and reflection. We had to do this before, during, after, and also continuously to make sure that those conversations were still happening. We needed various ways of getting those measurements. So we had net promoter scores, we had the data, we had personal qualitative feedback, and then again, the performance reviews, which really enabled upwards feedback from the employees to the managers that went on them. And all of those is what we believe created the biggest impact. Impact isn't accidental. It was years and years of planning. And what we found is when we center the learner and connect the learning to meaningful work, that's when we created experiences that changed behavior and drove organizational results. So the key lessons that we took away were tie the learning to strategy, mix the delivery methods, and measure continuously. And that's where we got today. Thank you so much. I'm really interested to see if anybody has any further questions.
Thank you very much, Natalie. We have a question from Tala, who is curious to hear if and if so, often you bring together the office workers and frontline mechanics for shared learning. To what extent do you personalize the learning experience or each part of your workforce population?
So in terms of the actual logistics, we had to make sure that the launch of these programs timed with not only production targets, but then also sales targets. So there was huge planning in terms of the logistics. But then there was weekly meetings in terms of every module design, where we went through the scenarios, the learning theories, the modules, to make sure that it actually had real life application for both parties. I think we could have launched this program quicker if we hadn't have taken so long to make sure that these things are applicable. And we brought in experts from those areas to review the content to make sure that it was specific to manufacturing and the other side of the same building in design or engineering or any of that. So it was a long process with a lot of collaboration from key business stakeholders, and they were all very happy to get involved and make sure that it was applicable to their teams.
Thank you. Jonathan had a comment. Brilliant, bravo. You mentioned this program targets first-time managers. How do you see it impacting? Sorry, that's a question. How do you see it impacting the upper top management level and back? Is there any interaction loop?
Yes, so we use the first line managers because they were the biggest population in the business. So what we were trying to do and successfully doing is creating the sort of the upward feedback model. So we actually had hundreds of managers go on this, and then they were feeding back up to their directors through the performance management system. From those conversations and from those reviews, it was agreed that there needed, and there was the desire to have this elevated Ignite, so almost Ignite 2 for the senior directors of the business, and that's something that we're working with Cegos on now. The demand was so great and the impact was so visible from the first line leaders that there was the demand for an elevated version at the director level.
Interesting, thank you. Denilson found this program amazing, and thank you for sharing. Thanks you for sharing. Is there any kind psychological support for the participants throughout the program?
Sorry, say that again, sorry.
Is there any kind of psychological support for the participants throughout the program?
Yeah, so everybody in the program got a specific coach. So they were given a one-to-one coaching throughout, and that was there for support around personal growth within the program, specific problems that they maybe didn't feel like sharing. And then we also have internal methods of psychological support for people run by the learning and development team. So there was two aspects of Ignite specific support and then relating back to Aston Martin support.
Thank you. Another question, what was the main challenge in generating engagement among frontline workers?
The engagement was there from the beginning because they felt included. I think previously there's been strong barriers between office staff and production staff. This program broke them down, so we had huge engagement from the manufacturing side of things. The difficulty was release time and making sure that they had time away from the production area and that resource was backfilled so we could maintain that. And the main way we were able to succeed with that is getting the directors buy-in and planning the launch of this many weeks in advance to make sure that the people resource was there to support that people leaving and going onto the course.
Thank you. We have a question with regard to the coaching you talked about just before. Is it internal or external coaching?
It's external coaching through Cegos. However, there were Aston and Cegos put together and almost recruited the coaches that we wanted to help develop this program based on their experience of, manufacturing or first-time leader experience. So the coaching was done through Cegos.
And Bettina asks, how much time did it take you all over before launching the program, and which were the key functions involved?
I think it almost took a year to launch from conception through to actually launching it. And the key stakeholders is, well, we had Cegos, the learning and culture team, and then we presented to the chief executives of the business to get the buy-in from the top level, and then the directors briefing. That was the key sort of steps in terms of our launch to get the buy-in from the top and then make the cultural changes upwards.
Thank you. Thank you. A comment from Lydie, very inspiring. And thank you, Natalie. And lots of people commented on that. So.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. I take no credit for the video.
It was a nice video.
Yeah, very nice.
We still have two more questions, and we're going to take some time at the end of the webinar to answer to this question, but I'm going to leave the floor to Carolina now.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alban, Natalie. And I have one question to start with this intervention on my side. This is a question that most of the learning and development leaders ask themselves, which is how effective is the training initiative that we just offered. So I propose that you answer on the survey on the screen that is arriving to tell me, is there a thing about mastering the new skill to change behavior, or I make a shift in workplace culture? When we create a real impact, what does it mean? So please, you can answer. I see that most of you are on the third option. So actually, yes, the third option is about driving a shift in the workplace culture. And why? This is because the real impact refers to this observable, meaningful change that matters to both to the business and the people within it. So I'm going to put next slide here. At Cegos, we are committed to transforming skills into performance. And so to measure and analyze this kind of performance, there is a globally recognized framework, which is the Kirkpatrick model that I'm showing you here.
This model is composed of 4 levels of criteria: reaction, learning, behavior, and results. And when we read it backwards, we start by defining level 4, which is what are the expected results that you want to achieve. It becomes a lot easier for us to identify the expected behaviors and the skills that the learners need to develop. This is like when we clarify the strategic goals, the operational goals, and then we go to learning goals. This framework is important for us to focus actually on those results. We believe training is more than a lever for skill development. It's a driver of lasting organizational transformation. And yet, when we try to measure it, it's a challenge to measure this impact. It's multifactorial component. And what I'd like to show you now is how we propose 4 different impact dimensions that can help us measure impact. These 4 dimensions can be learning KPIs, which are the indicators to measure engagement, satisfaction, perceived value, and the project KPIs, which can be the number of sessions delivered or the percentage of canceled sessions. We can have behavioral indicators, which are the observable and measurable behaviors, as Natalie was telling us with Aston Martin, and the environmental, social, and governance performance indicators, which can be, for instance, the future skills covered compared to those identified by the World Economic Forum. So this is a multidimensional approach that ensures that learning impact is not only measured at the level of participation or satisfaction, as we saw before, level 1 of Kirkpatrick. It's about business performance, behavior change, and sustainable organizational value. So let me go to one sentence that Louis Pasteur said once, which is, change favors the prepared mind. Today, data is everywhere and systems have become far more user-friendly, and thanks to generative AI analyzing features, we can go deeper and faster than 5 years ago. So organizations today must integrate all of the data tracking to seek and drive the real change and transformation we're looking for. This is why we recommend an adaptive and an holistic approach that considers a program's specific goals and outcomes, while we align them also with the business objectives. So let's go inside of this approach for us. The approach is to prepare and design learning experiences that create real impact. We have this proven approach about designing the impactful learning experiences inspired by design thinking, and we place learners inside and in the middle of the process of design. The first step for us is empathy, which is the step that allows us to be in the learner's shoes. It helps us reframe the problem and to find a solution which is really applicable for them later. The co-design phase that we did with Orange is about involving children, local teams, facilitators from the start to create a serious game that is relevant across the 25 countries and easy to deploy. For Aston Martin, as Natalie was saying, it meant about focusing on leadership confidence, alignment, and for this we needed to integrate also leaders on this empathy step. How do we do it? We did it with an empathy mapping. Most of the times we have other different tools to understand our learner, to create the learner experience. And an empathy map is used to articulate what we wanted the learner to say, to think, to do, to feel at the end of the learner experience. Because people always remember what they felt during the learning, and positive experiences are built under this confidence. So all of these steps, even if we are in the beginning about empathy, needs all to be tracked to be able to collect all of this data afterwards. So this is the first step, and I'd like to show you the whole process. There are 5 steps in total, because as I told you, this is inspired about the design thinking, about steps to design the learner experience that creates a real impact. The defining step is about focusing on the skills that are needed for the program to have impact, which is how relevant is the content that we need to create. So there is, for Orange, we had a paradoxical question, which help us go farther on developing the program, which is how can we raise awareness about responsible use of the internet and social media among children aged 10 to 16 across 21 African countries, when socioeconomic contexts vary widely and digital habits differ significantly from one environment to another. So this kind of question helps us clarify the learning objectives and the constraints of the context. The ideation phase is about coming to imagine the learning scenarios into the real world challenges. This is about designing a fluid learning experience, which is seamless. So it needs to be simple, intuitive, impactful, and transferable in the workplace. This is the moment when we also do the content curation. It's essential for us to identify and organize all of the content that will be created afterwards. Next step is about thinking in this ideation process. What environment we are thinking the learning is going to take place. It's important to think of this psychologically safe atmosphere to encourage experimentation and recognize different backgrounds to ensure that everyone can see themselves reflected in the experience. So this is going to help us build fluid learning ecosystems that are embedded in the daily work. So I'm showing you here the whole thing. So the last 2 steps are prototyping and testing, which is in the prototyping step, we identify the essential elements that need to be drafted, and so they can be tested afterwards with the sample of learners and their sponsors. We need to think here about the human ecosystem, about this test also, to accompany this learning experience, which is managers, peers, learning ambassadors, and not only the human ecosystem, but also the organizational ecosystem. I'd like here to do some focus about the importance of the learning experience design sprint I'm showing you, because it's providing real content which is relevant, operational, and emotional, which is we focus on creating engagement from the beginning. And this is something that we were saying before with Orange and Aston Martin experiences. To start from engagement, what I'm showing you here in this slide is this instructional model that we also follow to make sure that all of the experience design that we do is complying with the competency levels we want to attain. So there is the engagement, first step, to activate the motivation, by connecting to what the learners need to face as real challenges. Then we have explain. Explain is how learners may make meaningful connections between this new information and what they already know, and to understand what's really happening in this learning experience. Experiment is the moment when learners are really activating and testing ideas in the training to solve realistic problems that challenge their existing mental models, and then they explore. When they explore, it's in the workplace. In the workplace, as we are seeing here, this is the Ebbinger's forgetting core, which says that if you don't put into practice right away after the training, 50% of the learning is going to be forgotten. So this is why we need to get fast into this real life exploring to after the training. And the last step is about embedding. Embedding is about making learning part of everyday practice. So to support learners on their behaviors, and to do it by their ecosystem, their managers, their colleagues. And when we design these continuous learning experiences, they let us measure and transfer more rapidly, and think about learning as an changement of behavior, and not only by simply consuming this learning. So this is all for me now, because I think we have a few questions that have been arising.
Thank you very much for all these insights, Carolina. So we have comments on the surveys that you asked at the beginning on the poll. Tala says, well, I feel like it depends. So on the 3 options that you offered, for her, it depends. And Michael actually says, it's not enough to learn a skill if you do not apply it in your behavior. And since the sum of all behaviors make up the culture, all 3 options is connected.
Mm-hmm. Completely. Yeah, thank you, Michael. I think you're referring the 3 options about applying behavior to the
survey.
Yeah, the survey.
Yes.
Before. Is there any question?
Yeah. Then we have, so how do you embed measurement within people's daily job?
Yeah, so for learning experiences to become integrated in daily life, in daily jobs, it's important to put it as part of their daily routine, and use all of this data that organizations already have, whether they are in LMS platforms or social networks for companies, and all of this needs to be seamless. So when you integrated it into the daily jobs, as we do it with mobile phone apps, delivering nudges, reminders, micro challenges that can help us change behaviors in simple steps.
We have a question, thanks, and a question: how do you measure ROI on these carefully thought out training programs?
Thank you. So ROI is something that we still don't measure here. But it's important to design from the beginning with the client, actually, how much time is invested for the training program, how many learners have been taking this program, and the budget that was deployed. So when you do all of these metrics, you get to know how efficient it is, but not on on a holistic way, as I was saying before. We need to see the impact. We need to see the behaviors, and we need to see how business has improved, how all of these KPIs that we saw before have advanced.
Okay. Thank you all. We've reached the end of the hour. Alban just pointed out that he has to leave us. A big thank you to you for what you have shared and for coming up with us to this adventure. And so well, thank you very much, Alban.
Thank you.
If there are more questions, we can keep live and we can keep answering the questions. There was, I think, one or two for Nathalie about your Aston Martin projects. And if you have additional questions you'd like an answer on, don't hesitate to ask them in the chat. We're staying in for those people who would like to hear the answers. And for all the other, thank you very much for joining us. It was great to have you on this webinar, and so we'll organize more international webinars on different subjects next year, and we'll invite you all to join us. Nathalie, there was a question for you. Was there any ROI measurement on your program?
So we looked at a number of different things because success would look different in different areas. So we looked at promotion levels after the program. We looked at, particularly in our sort of hands-on roles, we looked at the openness in terms of raising issues, whether that's tangible issues on the line or what have you, because that is creating that open culture, but then also the leadership in terms to problem solve those out. So we looked at those. And then we also looked at the upwards feedback for the teams, and then so in their performance reviews, what are their employees saying about the managers that's going on that, and that's something that we're still looking at. So it wasn't sort of a financial measure, it was more of an internal capability measure.
Thank you. And we had the last question from Tala. Well, she said, thank you. I couldn't agree more. Aligning learning to tangible business outcomes really drives impact. And the question she asked is, how do you continue inspiring your employees to expose the value in their daily job, in their day-to-day, and how do you make learning about how they live them out? Okay, hang on a minute. How do you make learning be part of the ongoing experience, and do you have a value-based competency model?
So our values, we run monthly value sessions, which are open to either new starters to the business or also anybody that may have joined a new team or wants a refresher on those. They're an interactive workshop for every level, every department, and through them, they're always different. So they always discuss different things that look like, let's say, openness in this department or trust here. So we run them every year, every month, for people to book on across all of our sites. We also, any of the training that we do, we link all the values to the various aspects. So whether it's safety training, the values are in there. So we are constantly using this throughout everything that we deliver. We also have our performance management process. So 4 times a year, that's the behavioural model is based on our values. We also recruit on our values also. So they really are embedded into most of our working processes, but every year we look to see how we can improve them and how we can adjust them and do different activities around them. But that's what we currently do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't think there are any more questions. Thank you very much, Nathalie. Thank you, Carolina. Thank you, Elise, for all the content and the values that you brought in this webinar. It was great to have you with us. And so thank you for those who are still with us, and we wish you a great end of year celebrations, and looking forward to seeing you for additional events next year. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.